All right, Bella Mironova, geospatial freelancer, lecturer, master student at Telegram blogger. You are taking our industry from multiple directions at once. You're currently in Russia. I'm proud of that because the last episode was with a woman from America. So we are covering the globe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so first question is what it is like to do a master's via an Erasmus Mundus scholarship in cartography and what your expected benefits are.
So yeah, now I'm doing my Erasmus Mundus in cartography in Europe. I was really lucky to get a scholarship, which is like a full scholarship that covers all my expenses, and I can just like freely use this time to study cartography and GIS. There are some characteristics of these like Erasmus Mundus programs because I can't just study at one university. The program takes place in 4 different universities in Europe, which is great actually, because it's cool when you come from one country, as you already told, I'm from Russia, and you study like in other countries. You see all these different perspectives on one topic, not only from like just one more perspective, but from like 4 different perspectives. So my first semester was at Technical University of Munich in Munich. The second semester was in Vienna, Technical University in Vienna, and now I finished like the first year. So I would say that if you are interested in GIS and cartography, it's really cool that there are some opportunities when you can just go and study somewhere to increase your knowledge, and not only to increase your knowledge, because like I have some experience in this field, and some people ask me like, why do you need, Bella, like the second master's? Actually, because my first master's was in urban planning, and it was like, it's just fun. It's not only like about knowledge, but it is about knowledge. It's about new connections, networking, about seeing different perspectives, and it's just cool. I don't know, I'm growing there, I'm developing new skills anyway. Yes, because like some things like I know, because also I'm teaching GIS in Moscow. So, and now also I'm a student. It's also very cool to be at the same time a lecturer and a student.
Yeah.
It's also some different perspectives on the same thing, like on education. So yeah,
I
don't
guess you
know.
get you see the different ways also that geospatial or cartography is taught. So that could inform your own approach to teaching.
Yeah, it's actually, it helps a lot, because sometimes I see things and I was like, oh, I want to do it like that. Because I have like an amazing lecturer. Like last semester in Vienna, I had an amazing lecturer, and he was like first time doing that. So he's kind of my age, and it was like, whoa, it's so cool, because now I see like how could people do that even during their first years. I got some also perspectives on that. I see like what tools they use, like how they engage with students, and I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
see that, I will use it as well. And it's not only about knowledge, but also about different approaches working with students.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm doing some projects for some classes, and I see how they are assessed, and I'm like, okay, I need to apply it as well, like for my course at HSC. So it's actually, yeah, as you told me, like I'm doing like different things in one sphere, but at the same time it's cool, because just by studying, I'm not only doing my master's, but also probably improving my skills as a lecturer, because I'm like, I see these like lectures, seminars, and projects also from these perspectives on how I can use it in my
Yeah.
career and in my work.
I was also thinking that it would make you a better analyst.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think it's one of the benefits from a master's. Maybe the main benefit is just that I meet a lot of people from all over the world. So only in my student group, like all my classmates are from 17 different countries.
Wow.
So they're like 28 people, and we are from 17 different countries. It's
Crazy.
just amazing. It's crazy, and it's amazing. So, and also like by doing this master's, I increase the amount of opportunities I have after the master's. So maybe I will be back to Russia teaching at HSC and doing some an analysis, like JS analysis as a freelancer here. Maybe I will do my PhD in Europe, because now I have much more opportunities to do that, because I also have connections to all these research institutes and universities. Maybe I'll go to do some, I don't know, to some company to do some JS analysis. I'm just like increasing my opportunities in this sphere. I love, like, I just love it. I'm really passionate about it. Maybe you can see it from me. And that's great. So I don't have like actually some strict plans. So after my master's, because I have only 1 year left, after my master's, I'm doing that, that, and that. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm sure that I'm doing something connected to GIS and cartography.
To me, what you're talking about is a great demonstration of how it is to be in Europe, that you're just sent around to these 4 different, you know, in these 4 different countries at these 4 different universities. That's such a, I don't know, us who don't have that opportunity and outsiders looking in on Europe, you know, we have a bit of jealousy. So it's nice to hear.
Yeah, but like for everyone who is listening to this podcast, Erasmus Mundus scholarships like are open now. So, and if you want like to go and apply to do a master's, you can do it. So it's kind of available, and it's very nice. Also, I think it's the reason why there are like people from 17 different countries, because like from not developed countries, for how they are from developing countries.
So it's not just European countries.
Yeah,
that
it's not
those
just
students
European
are from.
countries. It's like from all over the world. And for example, from Russia, it's really hard to finance yourself like life in Europe, because like it's totally different prices, and like you need like a huge amount of money just to support your life in Europe. It's different. And for other developing countries, it's the same. So, and if you're getting a scholarship, it's great. You have this opportunity, and it doesn't matter you're going from the rich, you're from the rich family, from poor family. If you have some knowledge, and if you can get this scholarship, you're getting it, and you're living in Europe like at the same level as other students.
So
that's amazing.
Do you have to at least have studied some bachelor, like lower level university degree to get into this?
Yeah, sure.
So can it be any undergraduate degree, or does it have to be is there some type of, does it have to be to do with urban planning or geography, or can it be anything?
Yeah, as I know, it should be connected to some like urban planning, geography, or some other fields that actually, and
science,
also you need to, or science, you need to prove why, like why. So it's not like I was studying, I don't know, philosophy, but I think even like after philosophy, people could get it. But anyway, you just need to prove that, yes, this and that, those are the reasons why I'm interested in it, why probably I have some experience of using it, so I know some basics, because anyway, you can learn basics even like by yourself, like watching YouTube videos or something like that. So yeah.
That sounds like a topic we're going to talk about a bit later on in this course.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I appreciate your messaging there, that the application window is open currently for the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, and everybody from around the world is encouraged to apply.
Yeah.
Even from the other side of the world in Australia.
It's true.
Awesome. Okay. So another thing about you is that you are running, at last count, a Telegram channel with about 1,400 subscribers. So tell us the story of this.
Yeah, I have like a Telegram channel. I also want to a little bit add like why it's Telegram. Maybe it's not clear for everybody. If you're a Russian-speaking listener, probably understand why it's Telegram, because Telegram is like, it's more than just a messenger in Russia. It's like a social media. And if you want to connect to people, if you want to write a blog, probably Telegram like is a good choice. And I have a blog about GIS and cartography, about my experience, so you can see it also here.
I'm just trying to show the channel. So
the channel. So if you want, you can subscribe. Unfortunately, it's not like, I wish it could also be translated in different languages, but like
you can through the app. It's easy through the app.
Oh, okay. It's easy through the app. That's great. That's great then. And the story was like a little bit simple. So I didn't have like any goal just to create a blog and to be a Telegram blogger. I just wanted maybe to share the materials that I have, to share knowledge that I have. And also there were like a little bit funny situations. When I started to teach at HSC, some students asked me questions. And I was writing answers like as a huge messages. And then someone else also asked the same questions. And I was just like forwarding these like messages to different people. And then I thought, oh, maybe I need to like create some channel and to make like a post, because it's useful if
It's
different
more
people,
efficient. Yeah.
yeah, ask me these questions. And usually I was like looking for this like message that I sent someone like 2 months ago and forwarded it. So yeah, and also, so I started my blog a little bit more than a year ago. So this one was the first reason, but also I've understood that I'm going to do a master's in Europe, and maybe like anyway, you listen to lectures and you hear something interesting, and sometimes you're just like, oh, that's interesting, and make some notes in your like notebook. And then, okay, I can also share it, because if I found something interesting during the lectures, I can share it with people who don't know about it, and because like I didn't know about it, so probably other people also will be interested in. So it's like how I started my blog, and now it's like I didn't expect that it will be that big. So like I'm not sure if it's like big, but it looks like yes. So I'm just like sharing different things about GIS and cartography that I find interesting. So it's like actually, and it's not hard because I love GIS, and it's not hard to write posts because I have a huge actually list of topics I want to write like posts about. Sometimes I just don't have time to do that. And like to find a topic is just easy for me. So even now, like I know like what I want to write about. Sometimes it depends, because like sometimes I don't have like time for like a huge post, and okay, then I need to select some topic that I can write quickly. Sometimes, which is kind of bad.
I was just checking the last one. The latest one was open vector tiles.
Yeah.
So why did you choose that one? I think you just posted that one this morning.
Yeah, it's true. It's just like this morning. Why? Because actually I'm really excited about vector tiles. I think like it's a totally different level for base maps in WebGIS applications. And not
what
that
are
many
they?
people.
What's a vector tile?
Okay, yeah. So they're like raster tiles and vector tiles. So there's like, it's tiles. It's like from English word tile. Like I would translate it in Russian, but yeah. It's tiles. And to show some different parts on the map, because like we usually like Google Map, Yandex Map, and all like WebGIS apps, they have like a map.
I'm a huge fan of Yandex Maps, by the way. Thanks.
Yeah,
they're in the Geospatial Index. Yandex is in the Geospatial Index. Don't you worry.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's great. Yeah.
I just have to advertise. No.
Yeah, that's great. Yandex actually is like cool company and cool maps. Yeah, but also so this like huge world map, we can just like load everything to I don't know, phone map or like desktop map, and it's loaded just like in small tiles, depending on the zoom level. So we have like raster tiles, and raster tiles only like the raster images are loaded, and those raster images are generated somewhere on the server, and we can't affect it. It's kind of easy, but sometimes it's not really smooth when you change zoom levels. If you have like really fast internet connection, probably it will be like kind of smooth. But at the same time, it's already generated, we can't affect it, and sometimes it's not smooth. Vector tiles, kind of the same system, but always like world map. It's divided not in some raster images, but it's all like vector data. Vector data that also divided in different tiles, and also depending on the zoom levels, you have like different amount of information, different amount of like geometries.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because.
So is it a continuous zoom? Because if you've got different raster tiles, essentially raster tiles are images, right?
Yeah.
So they're discrete, if you like. There's no step. There is a step from one to the other, but if you have vector data, that's the actual geometry of the points, lines, and polygons. Is it just points, lines, and polygons in these vector tiles?
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess the point is that you're getting the actual geometry on your device, is it?
Yeah, it is. You're getting
so there's a continuous zoom, if you like, between. There's not steps. Am I at all describing that?
Yeah. There are no steps. For example, you have like highways on this, and on this zoom level, you have like highways, some buildings and other layers. But then when you're just zooming in, you have also some residential roads. And if we have like raster tiles, you get the new image. And if you have vector tiles, you had the highways, and they're still there, and just like some residential roads are adding to this image.
Extra detail.
Actual data.
Extra features, if you like.
Yeah, extra features
Yeah.
are adding, so
Yeah.
it's actually very smooth because it doesn't like regenerate the whole image.
Interesting.
And also for web developers, it's really cool because you can use these like vector tiles and to change the design for them.
Yeah, because you've got the actual data in the device. Yeah, it's not baked into the image. Yep.
Yeah, and also you can use some APIs where you also get these like vector tiles and you can't much change them, but also these like open vector tiles where you can use these tiles and also create styles for it and create base map only by yourself. And for me, it's really important because it also helps not only to solve some design issues and to create some really custom design, cool, unique one, but also you can divide some layers and annotations. So the text, the names for streets, for different objects, because sometimes if you create, I don't know, some web application, you create this base map, like with raster tiles, let's imagine. You put some layers on top of that, and your layers, actually, your vector layers, they're overlapping with the names, and it doesn't look, it's not a big issue, but like for cartographers, actually, it's a big issue because you have only like, I don't know, the first letters of some, I don't know.
Labels are the bane of cartographers' existence.
Yeah, it's true. And with vector tiles, you actually can divide these vector tiles. You can just first use some layers, like base map layers, then put your data in some web application, and then put labels on top using vector tiles again.
So it's highly customizable.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just really cool because even like a half of a year ago, I created some map during one of my projects in cartography master, and I just used some like nicely viewed, nicely looking some base map, like positron. It's good, and then I put some my layers on top. And in Munich, our supervisor said that, oh, but it's like overlapping with labels, and I'm like, I cannot do anything with that. It's just like a base map. And now I'm like, oh, I can do something with that. So I'm just really excited about it because it's like, for me, maybe it's like a really small task just to put labels on top. But at the same time, for me, it's like a totally different quality of your cartographic, of your maps, like of your web maps, because you can actually consider these also on web map, not only like in the usual maps, on static maps.
I've got another thought. So something that has come up more recently in my career is accessibility and ensuring that the colors that we choose can be distinguished regardless of the type of vision impairment or color blindness that you have. So could our industry help everyone more by having some sort of user account that specifies the kind of color blindness that you have, because there's many different types of color blindness. Not everyone is blind to the same colors, or not everyone can distinguish the same. So, and as far as I'm aware, I might be wrong, something like 5% of the population has some form of color blindness. So my idea is that if you are a colorblind user, that you have a user account that specifies the colors that are easiest for you to distinguish. And because we're using vector tiles, the API can somehow automatically color the vector data on the map to help you easily distinguish the features.
I think, yes, it's actually a cool idea. I've never thought about it, but at least I think like as like cartographers and web developers can add some, I don't know, switcher to their maps. So that will be automatically
That's
recolored.
A way to do it. You could have some buttons down the side.
Yeah. And if you can't distinguish something, you can just, I don't know, click on another button.
You can cycle through the options.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible, like from the technical perspective, and also it's a cool idea because I've never thought about it. I've thought about this, like doing some static maps. So it's kind of important for cartographers. So we are taught on that, like how to choose like colors properly, so everyone could see that. So it's really important. I've got like some even comments, like one time I didn't think about it, actually in my blog, and I got some comments. It's an awful map. I can't distinguish anything. And then I look at my like computer at the map, and I'm like, I can't distinguish. Then I asked like some other people, they could distinguish. But also I got like some more comments we can't it's hard to distinguish
Yeah.
colors. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, it's my fault actually. The
Yeah.
comments were not really nice, to be honest. It was just like
Huh.
awful map, and I'm like, you could just say that
Well,
you
there's
can
also
distinguish colors. Yeah, but
there's also
anyway.
huge cultural differences because, like I said, how the masters that I did was somehow located in Asia,
Yeah.
if you like. At least Australia is in the Asian sphere.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there are some really strong differences in color preferences between
Mhm.
the Western color palette, if you like, and say a kind of map in Malaysia. You know, if you're making a map of the Kuala Lumpur public transit system,
Mhm.
there is a preference for what in the Western taste for maps might be called a very leery or high contrast or gaudy color palette. But in that particular cultural context, that is their preference. So
Yeah.
I was just thinking if there also the benefit of vector tiles is if there is this customization layer based on a user profile that seamlessly without you noticing, without having to interact, just adjust the colors to your cultural preference or your accessibility requirements.
Yeah.
To me, that's a real illustration of the power of vector tiles, but also a user profile that is persistent across all cartographic experience that the user has on the web. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be a bit visionary here.
No, it's just like cool ideas. I really like it, and I'm sure that actually vector tiles give us this opportunity to do that. So the technical opportunity to implement these
Cool.
ideas.
And that also is that discussion is an illustration of the power of your Telegram channel, because there we go. You're
Yeah.
generating conversation.
Yeah, and actually, it's really great, like, to see that there are like some comments, thoughts on that. So I'm growing like with my Telegram channel as well. I'm developing skills. So every time I write some blog post, even like if I'm writing it on the topic I know about, I'm learning something new. I'm learning something new from the comments. So
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
great experience for me.
Perfect.
And I'm glad that there are like so many active users as well who
Mm.
are reading it and write comments and feedback. So yeah.
Cool. So it's another illustration of your broad multi-channel attack on the geospatial industry. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, kind of. But it's like for now, it's only like in Russian language. I have some plans, maybe. I don't know. I have a lot of plans, to be honest. I just don't have time for everything.
I know the
But
feeling.
yeah.
Okay.
So maybe I will do something in English. It will be like different formats and not that regular. But for now, I'm concentrating on Russian-speaking community, GIS community.
Yeah. Okay. So, what is your online Python course about? What are some challenges and success stories with that?
So yeah, I have created, I've started to creating my Python course. It's an online Python course about urban analytics, geospatial urban analysis in Python. I'm doing just my first steps, but I'm planning to continue it anyway. The issue is in Russia that we don't have like a lot of information on Python in geoscience in Russian language. So yeah, we can say that everyone should know English and just read everything in English, but it doesn't work like for everyone. And also, I don't know, especially like for students who are just like studying their steps like in this science. And also I decided just to create something in Russian language. There are like some other courses as well. Some of them like are paid courses, so that they're not opened. And if you are just, I don't know, freshman doing your bachelor's, like you won't pay 300 euros just for a course. You want to go to YouTube and watch some videos. So the idea was just to create some information in Russian, but not only that, because what I'm trying to do in my course is to concentrate on some tasks, on some practical instruments,
Yep.
and not giving some just theory. So
Yep.
this one is, I don't know, data types or some different tools to work with vector data. I'm taking some tasks. For example, I don't know, calculate point density, calculate, I don't know, restaurants density in different parts of the city. And then I'm explaining like what we need to do for that, why it's important, or I don't know, calculate, for example, population density by district in St. Petersburg. In St. Petersburg, because like I usually try to use as an example everywhere St. Petersburg.
I've heard it's a beautiful city.
Yeah,
I'd love
it
to go
is.
one day.
It is. Like in my personal perspective, it's the best city in the world. So Moscow is the most modern one.
I disagree. I disagree. It's Vienna in
Yeah,
Austria, obviously.
okay, Vienna actually for me it's the second one, but anyway. Outside of Russia, Vienna is the first one. But for me, yeah. So that's
I'm
why.
biased. As I said
Yeah.
before, it's where I met my wife, so it will
Yeah,
always be
you
the
are.
most beautiful city in the world.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, and yeah, for example, I've decided to calculate some population density based on districts. And then like what you need to do for that, you need also to calculate some area. You need to calculate the area of the districts. And then when you start calculating it in the initial coordinate reference system, it doesn't work because it's geographical coordinate system. And then like, okay, we calculated it, it doesn't work. And then I'm telling about coordinate reference systems, about projections, why it's important, what's the difference, and show how to reproject it. Not just like coordinate systems, let's show how to read the coordinate system, like for this database, then just like to change it and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, showing the example where it's important.
It's
like
context-based learning.
context-based,
I love what you're doing. Great.
So I think I'm doing only my first steps in this field because like actually like I'm really into teaching and lecturing. I love it, but I don't have like a huge experience like for many years, only for 2 years. And
but you have experience as a student and you know what you need to learn successfully. It sounds like you're just applying that and you're making sure that you keep everyone engaged.
Yeah, it's true, but at the same time also it's like different experience. So but anyway, yeah, I'm like I was a good student, so I kind of like understand like what lecturers like doing. But anyway, so and for this course particular, as you said, like context-based learning, I think it's really important, especially these days when you're just like, I don't know, people get bored. Maybe it's like you need to know some theory and fundamental knowledge. But if you're just like doing, I know, repetitive different like tasks and don't know how to apply it and when to apply it, you're just like, okay. And if you see some of these like tasks when you cannot calculate the area for the districts, if you like don't know, if you know nothing about projections, you're like, oh, at least in these tasks, I know that. And then probably you meet like a lot of other tasks when you would need that, but then you would understand the concept, why it's so. Anyway, like coordinate reference systems and projections is like a huge topic and very complicated. So it's challenging for me just to describe it, like not as a full lecture, but just a little bit. But anyway, like I'm trying to give some basic understanding, and also probably it's not the course like for Python basics or even JS basics. But if you know some like basics of Python and some JS basic understanding, you can just go through my course. I actually in Russian it's like not a course. I call it not a course because it's like not a usual course where you just like learn some theory and some practice. It's just like not a course, не курс in Russian.
Do you literally use that phrase, not a course?
Yeah. And like in Russian, it's не курс. It's like not course. Yeah, but not a course. Okay. Yeah, because it's just like, I don't know, it's some practice, some fun thing to learn something new. And I don't know.
And because of that, your students have a chance of learning and enjoying it. I like it.
Yeah. But it's like, to be honest, like recently I've understood that it's like the main thing is just to enjoy what you're learning.
Yes.
In Russian educational system is kind of strict, especially like I finished Moscow State University, like my bachelor degree is from Moscow State University.
Don't tell me you're another guest from Moscow State University.
Yeah.
I have had like 6 guests.
Wow.
This actually is the podcast of Moscow State University. It's not intentional.
Yeah.
It's not, but I find it very, very funny.
Yeah, but also maybe because
I'll
like
have
a lot
to visit one day.
Yeah, I hope you will be able because it's like also cool. But yeah, it's funny actually. But maybe also because they're like, it's a good school, you know, geographical and jazz school at Moscow State University. That's why you're meeting like people from there.
If you're coming on the Geospatial Index podcast, it's a good school.
Yeah.
Only the best.
Yeah. So yeah, I finished like Moscow State University, and it's like fundamental Soviet university. So where you could just learn theory and everything. and they're like not a lot of practical skills, but at the same time, I'm glad that they've got this like fundamental knowledge. Sure that like if you're enjoying something and if it's fun, you're learning much more than when you have just strict rules.
It's good to have fun. It's not shameful to have fun when you're learning something.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's the old way of learning. It's as though it is shameful to have fun and it's somehow juvenile.
Yeah.
So we need to remove the stigma of fun in education.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm trying to make some change. Even like with my like courses at HSC, I usually tell students, relax. We are having fun here. We are having some nice practical tasks, nice labs. If you don't like it, it's okay. Just don't feel stressed, but it's fun. You can learn a lot. So yeah.
Good. Okay, so you said you're starting this not a course. So have you released any modules? Have you had any people pay for the course?
No, I've released like 4 modules.
Yeah.
So I'm planning to do more. I have like a little bit of pause now because I needed to take my exams because I'm a student. I spend a lot of time on that. It's open course.
It's open.
And
okay.
Actually, for this particular course, I'm not sure about my next steps. It's important to like create an open course and it's available for everybody. And so
it's for free.
The knowledge, it's for free.
Okay.
You can just like open the link. I have some.
Yeah.
I've created some kind of a book. I don't know. You're using Jupyter Book. So
Jupyter Notebook. Yep.
Jupyter Book. So Jupyter Book has like different notebooks inside. So it's kind of like it's kind of a different like sections inside. It's really useful. I've seen like a lot of Jupyter books like on these topics, like in English and not in Russian. I haven't seen in Russian. So you can see some text, some data, some data processing, and the result at the same time.
Great way to learn.
Yeah, it's a great way to learn. And also I'm recording different videos for each section where I'm explaining like every step in this Jupyter, like in Jupyter Notebook, for each section, which are all together Jupyter
And
book.
can you have the videos actually embedded in the Jupyter book? So outside. So it literally is all integrated.
Yeah, it's all integrated.
Amazing.
I have like all these videos at the channel Basics of Programming for Geographers. It's a channel from your other guest, Sasha. I just like have my own playlist there. So the playlist with all the videos, but also I have like a link, but actually it's not even a link. I could like introduce I could include like into the web page for each section the video because it's
hang on, you used a nickname there because I had him as Alex Korolev, right?
Yeah.
But is his nickname Sasha?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
sure.
right.
Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, it's a nickname.
No, I just want to make sure that people could make the connection.
Yeah, sure.
He's the CEO of GIS Carter.
Yeah. And he has created these like very cool channel for Russian-speaking community with different courses on like programming and GIS. And actually, he's like one of my first teachers in GIS.
There we go.
So
So that's a sign of there's a bit of an ecosystem for online learning in GIS that's emerged in Russia, in the Russian language. And I guess an illustration for everyone of the power of the concepts that you're teaching is that Alex, for example, has gone on to create GIS Carter, which is an amazing web GIS platform. So there's as an inspiration for everyone of an outcome of what you're doing. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we have heard a little bit about your experience lecturing in the higher School of Economics. Do you want to talk a little bit about, one story of your experience there?
Yeah, sure. I can just maybe a little bit explain like what I'm doing there and like what's the experience of like at the start of your career as a lecturer, because it's like, it's cool. I love it, but at the same time, it's challenging. But at the same time, I'm learning a lot. So it's like actually what I like. So I'm teaching 2 courses, like a little bit more than 2, but like anyway, all these courses are about GIS in urban planning and in urban analytics. It is really cool. I think it's better than just like GIS course because you're learn some GIS basics and also how to apply it for certain tasks, for example, in urban analytics, how to calculate, I don't know, public transport availability or population density or different metrics that actually you can use later in different projects. So it's not just, I don't know, this list of tools and that's it. So it's also kind of context-based learning, but a little bit more, maybe more fundamental and more structured because it's a university. So yeah, I'm teaching these courses and also some course on advanced spatial analysis for some other students where we can also learn some Python, how to use Python in QGIS, how to automate different processes, because first of all, you start to do that and then it was like, okay, just using QGIS, it's fun, but it's not that effective as if I use some programming languages inside QGIS or outside of QGIS. So yeah, I would like maybe even to talk about some challenges, because usually people don't talk about challenges. It's just like, yes, it's fun. I'm a lecturer at HSC in Moscow. It's great. It is great. And I'm loving that. But the challenges that I actually see that if you're just like a first year lecturer, for example, or second year lecturer, sometimes you can see some situations that unexpected, or sometimes like students have a lot of questions, which is great, but sometimes those questions like comes like out of like different fields that you don't know about, and it's hard actually to accept. If student asks you a question, you're just like, yeah, I don't know about it, but let's learn together, let's look together, something like that. Because
do you feel pressure to be an expert and be able to answer every single question?
Kind of, yeah, I feel this pressure, especially, I know, as you told that maybe it's like for all the education in the world, but especially like in Russian educational system, I'm like, especially like last year, this year was my second year and the last year was my first year, and sometimes I got questions that I didn't know how to answer, and now I feel that it's okay, but you need to admit that it's okay. You need, some students actually can tell you something that you don't know, and it's cool, it's really cool, and it's okay if it's like that, because
you're a human.
Yeah, you're a human. You can actually, it's a mutual process. Like students are learning from you, you're learning from students.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And also what I could say about it, that like last year, I taught it as like on offline courses. So it's like it was in-person communication. And it's so much different from online classes, because like now, like, yeah, I was doing like last year, like last academic year, I was doing my master's program like in Europe, and also I could do only online classes at HSC. And it's a huge challenge, and I still don't know the answer how to do online classes very effective.
Wow,
because it's
so
like totally different communication.
Of course.
It's like you cannot, like, usually like at HSC I'm like, hi, let's learn, and you see the reaction, you see the question, you see everything. And when it's online, you're just like, hi everyone, and it's like, I don't know,
into the void.
Yeah, into the void, and that's it. And it's really hard to engage people in this process. And I remember myself as a student during COVID times and these like all online courses. I did a lot of things during these like online courses, but not sitting like in front of the computer and listening. So I was, I don't know, cutting some salad, creating dinner, or I don't know, taking some coffee, walking around the neighborhood. So I was like, I wasn't a good student, but anyway, it's kind of, you need somehow to catch the attention of people. It's also kind of a lecturer responsibility also to catch this. So it's student responsibility as well if they want to learn something, but also your responsibility, like how to engage with this. Because it's cool that, for example, I don't know, for some courses, for some, I don't know, online courses, you can, I don't know, get knowledge from all over the world.
Yes.
Because like you can just connect online and get it, but it's much more beneficial for people to go, like, especially like in higher education, and to see like in person. You have like much more inspiration. You can talk and discuss different things, and actually a lot of knowledge appears like, and when you just talk to people.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like there's the spontaneous engagement that occurs when you just feel like you can turn around to the person sitting next to you and you can say, you know that thing, and then you have like because I feel like because I'm a 40-year-old guy now, and there's a risk that the things I say are going to be like, old man shouting at cloud, you know. And so I guess I just want to restrict my point to being the opportunity to spark conversation where you feel like a weirdo if you spontaneously try to have a video call with someone. You're like, who is this person suddenly trying to call me? But you're not a weirdo if you suddenly turn to someone who's sitting next to you. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great point.
All right, so the next one is any stories about analytics that you developed when you were working at Moscow Urban Forum, and your perspectives on the city of Moscow regarding urban planning, given that you've had plenty of experience all around the world, from America to Europe to Russia. Let's have it. What's your opinion on urban planning?
Yeah, so Moscow Urban Forum, actually, like, it's a company. I'm not sure it exists now, actually, but it existed for a lot of years. And the main idea for this, like, Moscow Urban Forum, was really cool because it invited different professors, like specialists in urban planning, in urban studies, in GIS as well, to a huge forum in Moscow every year. So from all over the world, like, best professors in urban planning came to Moscow to discuss different topics. And it was, like, really cool. But also one of the parts of this company was, like, analytics. And mostly it was, like, analytics about different cities, different, like, global cities in the world, including Moscow, because, like, also Moscow has been developing in the recent years very good. So in my perspective, I'm biased, but I don't live in Moscow, but I'm biased about Moscow. Now it looks like the most modern city in the world that I've seen, but I haven't been to Asia, I haven't been to China, I haven't been to Japan, but Moscow is really modern city. So in comparison to Europe, I like Europe a lot. So I've lived in Vienna and Munich, and I visited, like, I don't know, 20 plus cities in Europe. In my perspective, Moscow is much modern, especially, like, these days. Like, we won't talk about, like, why it is so, and, like, other situations.
Do you have a basis for this opinion based on some of the analytics that you developed at Moscow Urban Forum?
Yeah. So actually, at Moscow Urban Forum, I was, like, a little bit skeptical because, like, we were working, like, in the project in the company that was, like, created by, like, Moscow government. And we were, like, I was actually responsible only for spatial analytics. So the process, like, I haven't seen, unfortunately, the full process, but I was creating different metrics about Moscow, about, I don't know, public transport accessibility of different social organization, like, I don't know, some medical stuff, like schools, kindergartens, also accessibility of different services, and something like that. And I was creating different metrics, and they were, like, a part of, like, huge rating, like, for different cities, like, based on different parameters. And I was a little bit skeptical, to be honest, because Moscow usually was, like, the first, the second, the third, and something like that. Yes, I've calculated all of these metrics by myself, and based on my metrics, Moscow was one of the first, like, cities as well. But also there were, like, some other metrics.
Is that in Russia, or were you able to make comparisons to other cities in other countries based on those metrics?
We tried to use, like, open data and to calculate these metrics for different cities in Europe and the US.
So if we take transport accessibility, what was the outcome? How did Moscow score? What was the score in terms of transport accessibility for Moscow?
For public transport accessibility, Moscow was the first one.
Really?
And yeah, but I'm sure about that. And if I use, like, public transport in Europe or somewhere else, I'm sure Moscow is the first one. So it's
interesting.
It is just, again, like, I don't want to talk about different, like, underlying situation why it is so, why Moscow has this, like, a lot of money and something like that, because, like, people, especially in Russia, argue about it because Moscow is, like, the richest city in Russia. And
well, it's kind of like London in the UK. There is, in some ways, there's a huge divide. It's as though the rest of England or the UK is like a backwater compared to the incredible public transport accessibility, for example, in London.
Yeah, actually, I went to visit London, but what I've heard, like, I haven't been there, but what I've heard from my friends who live, like, in Moscow and then in London, Moscow is better. And I kind of agree, because in Moscow you can go everywhere by public transport. You have, like, a huge subway system. It's just, like, it's huge. It's you have, like, really good network of buses, different buses,
Yeah.
like that covers actually everything.
Yeah.
And
It's the same in
yeah,
London. Like
okay,
I'll tell you, because I was living in Bristol before London.
yeah,
I came to London, and we had a 1-year-old daughter at the time. She's
okay,
3 now, but I was so with a 1-year-old, you push them
yeah,
everywhere in the
yeah,
pram,
yeah,
or use the harness. I was doing a lot of walking, and I couldn't believe it. Everywhere I walked, I was always seeing abandoned cars. They had cobwebs all over them, spiders' webs and
yeah,
other evidence that they'd just been sitting there for months and never, like, the tire would be deflated. I'd never seen anything
yeah,
like it anywhere. And it's honestly the result of the emissions. You have to pay like the congestion charge,
hmm,
and also the subway system here and the bus system and the above ground, overground train system is
hmm,
incredible too, to the degree that it's a waste of time to drive your
yeah,
car, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
So yeah,
just to say,
but yeah,
it's awesome.
I will visit London, I'm sure, at some point.
Yeah,
But and then I will be also able to compare like those two big and huge
yeah.
cities.
But
But
it
from
is
my
interesting to
perspective,
hear
yeah,
your metrics
yeah,
based view that
yeah, because like
Moscow schools have.
how we actually, what were the metrics? We calculated the availability of subway stations for people. So we could calculate, for example, like 7 minutes walking distance and the coverage of 7 minutes
Yep,
walking distance for each subway station, and then calculate the percentage of all Moscow population that actually live like in 7 minutes
yep.
walkability distance. So what were the metrics actually? They were like pretty simple because we calculated 10 minutes walking availability distance from all subway stations, and then calculated the percentage of population in Moscow that actually lives like in this like 10 minutes walking distance from
And that
subway
was on
stations.
the footpath network,
Footpath, yeah,
on the
footpath,
footpath
on
network.
the footpath network. So it
Okay,
wasn't like some buffers. No, it was like some isochrones based on the
perfect,
like
perfect.
road network,
Yep,
footpath
I love it.
network.
Real
Yeah.
catchment area. Yep, yep.
So then we calculate the same for bus stops. So also for tram stops, but it was like only 5 minutes because like for bus stops and tram stops, it's more important to be closer. And what I could say that like for bus stops and tram stops, I don't remember the exact numbers, but as I remember, maybe I'm mistaken, it was like 95% of Moscow population lives like in 5 minutes accessibility distance from
Perfect.
bus stops or tram stops. So it's just like, it's amazing, but it's like, it's what you see when you come to Moscow. It's like public transport is everywhere. And
Yeah,
you, as you told, like, yes, it's also the same in Moscow because you don't need to use a car. It's
yeah.
like also all these like fees for cars, but
Do you
also
have
you
a
can
congestion charge in the center of Moscow?
no, I think no, but we have like really expensive parking
Okay,
spots.
okay.
Like they're like not expensive in comparison to Europe, so it's like I don't know, 5 euros per hour, something like that. But for Russia, it's expensive. So anyway, it's easier
Of
for
course.
you. Yeah, and
Interesting.
it's yeah. So you just like go by public transport. It's cheap and nice. If you don't like, don't want to go to public transport, and you need to to go faster, you can use a cab, but
Sure.
like to go by car, it's kind of expensive and not really good.
Using Yandex, right?
Yandex
Because
taxi, yeah.
I've seen. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
They've also
So
got those in Belgrade.
yeah, they
For
have
some.
to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I love that you're able to express this opinion based on some geospatial analysis, actually,
yeah.
of public transport accessibility.
Yeah.
So it's nice
Yeah,
to,
but we
yeah.
did the same for schools, for kindergartens, for medical centers. Yeah, we have like kind of good social system in Russia, so it's all free for
Mm,
people, and also it's kind of accessible. So you don't need to drive your kids somewhere to school because like anyway you have like
mm.
school also in like 10 minutes
Hmm.
walkability distance from my home.
In the UK and also in the US, there's something called an indices of deprivation map,
Hmm.
which basically shows how some expression of the social issues or degree of vulnerability, social vulnerability of a population. Is there a similar map in Russia
No, they're
that
like
gives you?
maybe unfortunately there's no such a map, but at
Right.
the same time I would say that maybe we have like really heterogeneous population.
Yep.
And so, for example,
Heterogeneous.
yeah, thank you. And in some districts,
Heterogeneous?
heterogeneous,
I would just say.
heterogeneous. Thank you. Heterogeneous like population in different districts.
Yeah.
So maybe now we have because it's like a Soviet past, and in Soviet past, I don't know, people from different like social classes and with different like opportunities, they live like in the same district. So
that is also a feature of the urban planning in London that I've seen.
Yeah,
So you've
okay.
got the council housing blocks of flats,
Yeah.
and then across the road you've got more for privileged people, I can say. And so at a nursery, and we've, my
Yeah.
wife and I often talk about this at the nursery where we take our daughter, that we have, my wife and I are employed professionals earning a lot of money, paying a lot of money to send our daughter to have the same experience at the nursery as people living for free in a council flat without a job get for free. So it seems like there's a similar phenomenon in Russia.
Almost. I think the main difference for us is like people could live like in the same building.
Right. Interesting.
So it's like it's more like you don't see this border, I know, of poor and rich people, especially in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
In St. Petersburg city center, we still have these shared flats. It's in Russian, it's коммунальные квартиры, where people live. So they're like, I don't know, 8 rooms and the kitchen.
Yeah.
And each family has its own room, and it's like not a huge room, it's just like a normal room.
Wow.
And it could be like still in St. Petersburg city center.
Wow.
And also next to their like apartments, there will be an apartment with, I don't know, 8 rooms, but there will be some like very rich family living there because it's like St. Petersburg city center, and they take the whole apartment.
And the rich family has the massive 8-bedroom apartment, right?
Crazy. Yeah. So it's like it's actually like in the one apartment block.
Is the point of that approach to urban planning that there is the anticipation of exchanges, of conversations between those families living in that same building, and that somehow the more fortunate family will bring along the other families and provide some sort of support or inspiration to them, that somehow there is some effect on social mobility?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. So, and a great concept. I'm not sure if it works like that, but actually maybe it works at least because like all these kids go to the same school, as you told me.
At least there is the effect through
they
the
have
schools.
like they have like the same quality education.
Yeah.
And what I love about Russia, like it's my country, I love it anyway, but what I love about Russia as well, we have like kind of free of charge education, even higher education.
Sure.
So you go to school, like elementary school, middle school, high school. It's kind of one school in Russia, but anyway, we see some different levels. And then you can enter university. You can enter Moscow State University, which is like great. You can enter HSC for free.
Yeah.
And yes, some families pay for that because there's like a rating. You need to get some good grades at the final exams in school. But anyway, you can enter for free, totally for free, to the best Russian university.
Yeah.
It's based on your grades. So I think it's like a great opportunities for social mobility in Russia, for people from different cities as well. For them, it's like a little bit more challenging because they need to like come to Moscow and to pay rent and something like that. But at the same time, dormitories, it's just a fun fact. Dormitories at Moscow State University, it's not nice. I've lived there. You live like with 5 other people, like with 4 other people in the same room, but you pay 20 euros per year.
Oh my God.
So it's accessible. So it doesn't matter, like, do you have like a rich family or not rich family? Like some people can like pay for rent an apartment for their kids.
Right.
But anyway, so because like otherwise it would be okay, I went at Moscow State University, like for some kids, like from Russian cities, but I cannot pay like rent an apartment because I need to study. And Moscow is like kind of hard. Here, you at least have your own, you don't have your own room, but you have like your own bed.
Yeah.
And you can at least afford like to stay there and to study. And if you, I don't know, if you work at the same time later during the last year that you're at university, you can just improve your housing.
Us having this conversation and you using the term social mobility suddenly makes me think that, well, there's a few thoughts that I have. In a way, the world is a series of experiments in populations assembling around an idea or a mechanism for causing social mobility, because all parents, for God's sake, want their kid to have a better life than theirs. So that's the term of the concept of social mobility. And it's really interesting to have this discussion where we're hearing from you what the Soviet or Russian concept of causing social mobility is. And we see that the Russian people are just as interested as the people from the highly deprived suburbs of London are in causing social mobility. It's really interesting to hear that. And I guess I can say from my experience of the Australian tertiary education system, how the Australian government tries to facilitate social mobility for the less fortunate or more deprived kids from more deprived neighborhoods, is that we have a government loan system for so everybody can study at university for free. But they take on a cheap government loan that is indexed to inflation. So they don't have to pay back that loan until they get a job. And the amount that they have to pay back it comes out of their taxes, and it is only above a certain salary that you have to pay it back. And you can pay it back over a very long period of time. So that's the Australian government and the Australian population that they have come up with and accepted as an equitable approach to somehow achieving social mobility through the tertiary education system.
It's a cool system as well. And actually, like, when we talk about social mobility, I think it's like one of the main problem, I don't know, of current governments, like all over the world, because it's really important. And I see that actually it's like higher education matters. And you need to provide everyone opportunities to get a higher education. It's really important. And so it's like what I didn't like about the US when I studied there. I got a scholarship, so like I'm a scholarship kid.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I studied there like as a scholarship student. Like I did an exchange year there in Minnesota, at the University of Minnesota. So really nice state, but I don't want to live in the US. I love Russia and Europe, but but anyway, and I saw that kids from rich families, they get an opportunity to study at the university, and if you're not from the rich family, sorry. There are some scholarships actually. Like I was like an exchange student. They have like some scholarships for international students, so it's easier even than for local students, and especially only for 1 year. But like if you're just a smart kid, you have like high grades but not like the best grades, maybe even like I don't know, there are like few people who get like full scholarship. But also the cost for dormitories and everything else is also like it's huge. So in comparison to 20 euros per year,
I remember huge. The dormitory in terms of, if I can offer as a commentator here from the Australian perspective, the dormitory, for example, at Flinders University in Adelaide in South Australia, where I studied first, that was $10,000 a year, and that was in 2003.
That's a lot. So like it's not affordable. So you can, even if you got like the full scholarship for the university, you're just like, and where could I live? And sometimes like what I saw in Minnesota, it was obligatory actually for the first year student to live in a dormitory, like at the at least at the University of Minnesota. And I was like, yes, there's like no social mobility. So it's like
interesting.
Yeah.
In the end, this brings up a really fascinating topic that in the end, I don't think anybody gives a damn about how we achieve social mobility. I mean, there is basic ethics. You can't kill anyone. But let's be honest, in the end, we want social mobility to occur, and it needs to occur. And what's the best way to put this? It would be a pity if and don't worry, I don't have some agenda here. I'm not trying to push some philosophy or political idea, but I'm a parent. I have a 3-year-old. For God's sake, if there's something that I must achieve as a father, it is to, in a profound way, unmistakable way, cause my daughter to have more knowledge than me, earn more money than me, live longer than me. So all parents, I don't know. Sorry, I'm not familiar with how to make this point because I haven't talked much about it, but it's funny how all parents in all societies around the world, we are using the knowledge and the political systems and the ideas that we have to do our best to cause social mobility. And in the end, the social mobility is what we want, not the service to a political idea. And I feel like there there is the chance for politics and philosophy to distract us and to cause us to think that social mobility must happen in a particular way. And there's a risk there that in serving the political ideology and the philosophy, we will forget about the point of it, which is to achieve social mobility.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to say that.
Yeah.
It's a funny point to get to on this Geospatial Index
Yeah,
podcast.
but it's like it's an important topic, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't know what like I can do about it. But anyway, I just like see this problem like for a lot of countries which want to achieve this social mobility, but they just couldn't. So like, and they ask you every time, see like social mobility, equality, 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 and it's like, if you have like such expansive higher education, there won't be equality, guys. Sorry.
I'm sorry, but yes, of course, for God's sake, we want equality, but I don't want to sound like an obsessive about social mobility, but my view is that we want to achieve progress forward from the prior generation. And maybe that doesn't mean we can achieve equality, but if we achieve progress, that to me that's the goal. But anyway, I
agree with you. Yeah,
please
I agree with you,
me.
but like,
please disagree with
I
me.
love it. Yeah. So I agree with you because it's important, like, as you told, like for each parent just to see this progress, and like every parent, my parents also like want to see this progress, and probably hopefully they see it. But anyway, but also like you have this more increasing gap, you know? So you have these opportunities for your daughter, for your kids, and it's important, and I agree, and it's great. Like my parents also helped me somehow to grow, and also they have like at least some opportunities, despite also in Russia it's a little bit easier. So
but you don't want other kids to increase at a faster rate. Is that your point?
No. Actually, it's at the individual level, it's great. So, and it should be like that. So our kids, like your kids, my future kids, like everyone could be better, like richer, more opportunities, and everything like that. But the issue is we are talking here, as I see, from the perspective of the middle class people.
Yeah.
And we have these opportunities to make life of our kids better.
To even have social mobility.
Yeah. To come social mobility from our level, like our middle class, increasing middle class. But there are like a lot of poor people who are just like earning their money, like just to feed their kids.
Right.
And they don't have this opportunity, and probably their kid will be like a little bit better, but it doesn't mean like that because
so
they
your
don't have,
point
I don't know,
is that
time.
The capacity of social mobility must be equally distributed.
Kind of, yeah.
Is that your point?
Yeah, it's my point.
I am all for that.
So it's my point. It's anyway, it will be different because like we have like different initial situation, like initial opportunities, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that we should like give our kids less than we could. We should give like much more, but also at the government level. So it's like actually not our individual responsibility, but at the government level, there should be some system that would give like opportunities from the low for kids from low income families to grow fast and to get the education that to get all the opportunities.
Absolutely.
So that's the issue. So
it's wonderful that point is coming from someone sitting in Russia.
Yeah.
Because that means that the great human project that we're all engaged in as humans, regardless of where we are, we all have this goal.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Thanks, Ella.
Thank you.
Cool. We have one more point, but do we want to really discuss it, or is that a nice place to end it?
We can discuss it. I have some thoughts about it.
All right.
If you have time, because
I do.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So, final item in my episode with former Esri Chief Marketing Officer Linda Stevens, she said the vision for GIS needs a refresh. She also said that Esri co-founder Jack Dagerman calls, she then in that discussion, which people can listen to, She mentioned Jack's vision for GIS. I will leave the listener to go and listen to that episode to find out more about it. But one expression of his vision is that geographic information systems are a sort of intelligent nervous system for our planet at a time when humanity desperately needs one to address the environmental and humanitarian crises at hand. So, if, Bella, you had the chance to shape the vision for the geospatial industry for the next 40 years, what would it be?
Yeah, I have actually, for this very complicated question, I have kind of short answer. Maybe it has like two parts. The first part is I think that GIS should be applied in different fields, because like we all humans, we live in space, and almost every process actually takes place in the space. And based on different spatial data, using GIS, we can get a lot of information that actually before we didn't have. And how can it help? It can help in different fields, just to analyze this data and to make different decisions based on this data. So it's like in data informed by data decisions. So not just like, okay, we're thinking here it would be like that. No, we have this data, we have like a lot of tools for analytics of this data, we can get a lot of insights from it, and then make our decisions to solve different crises. Either it's like climate change or social crisis or inequality. Based on data, we can see all these problems much better than we can just see it without data.
So your vision is that problem solving occurs in more of a data-driven and evidence-based way, rather than magical thinking, religious thinking, and hand-waving.
Yeah, it's true.